You are about to connect with people who are ready to bring you the most open, honest, and revealing life stories. Welcome to Journey TV.
This segment is brought to you by 7 C's. 7 C's, building health naturally.
Welcome to Journey TV. I am Arlene Camille, your host, and today I am here with Katherine Coakley. Katherine, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. I am so excited about what you are going to, our viewers will hear from you.
Finally.
I say that because you have, a lot of wisdom. So let our viewers know about you.
Well, I am the president of Purpose Made Me Do It, which is a local NGO here in Nassau that caters to the less fortunate, underserved communities. I am the founder and lead coach of The Authentic Woman, which is a coaching experience specifically for women. And my most recent venture is, of course, Bahama Foodie, which is a plant-based food blog for persons that just want inspiration to eat better and eat healthier.
Awesome. So we get to, hear from you today, but give us an idea of, Katherine growing up, her personality, and how that ties into you today.
Yeah. So as a child, I was very shy, if that's the word. I was a person that people looked to for advice, for counsel. Older people, even in school, through my teenage years, I was very independent, very reliable. People know that Katherine said something, she's going to do it.
It sounds like you described the Katherine today because, so that means you've been consistent. Even as a child, you were the protector. And wow.
Yeah.
So I read your blog. Actually, the co-authored blog with you and your mom. You released it on Mother's Day.
Yes.
And your title was?
When What She Gave Wasn't Enough. And hers was When She Gave All She Had.
So interesting. When What She Gave Wasn't Enough. And her title was When I Gave All That I Had. Tell me more about that.
Well, that was on the Authentic Woman's blog this year actually. Every year we celebrate Mother's Day, which should be the thing, but we often do it in a way that I think that's sometimes pretentious, because there is a fraction of people that don't have relationships with their moms or struggle with mother wounds. And I just really wanted to bring a resource for people that needed something, that needed information, that needed hope, inspiration, as well as to see that there is recovery and there is forgiveness and there is a process of healing, So my mom and I co-authored a blog. It was I would say was a shifting point for me, because that broke a lot of stuff mentally and emotionally. When I first asked her to write, she probably had a panic attack in her room, but she didn't let me see. And she told me afterwards, she was like, my chest, because now she said, I always knew this day would come, Katherine, but I'm not sure I was ready. But it had to happen, and she did that, it broke a lot of stuff even in our relationship. She came and that was the moment that caused her to really see what was done. And I'm still grateful for that. So it helped a lot of people. A lot of women would have messaged me and say, thank you for this, Katherine, thank you for your honesty, thank you for sharing this, because there's this thing, we don't like to call it, but everyone don't have a relationship. And some people said to me, I haven't spoken to my mom in years. And I texted her after reading this blog, because it gave me so much wisdom and so much a different perspective. Because we, as a daughter, you see our moms in the limelight of a superhero. As I grew older, almost 30 now, I see her as a woman, and so that gave me grace, and that gave me empathy and compassion for her, and so that changed a lot as to how I see myself and how I deal with our relationship. And I'm happy that it happened, because although it was something I was a bit kind of skeptical about and with sharing the world, especially because people, like I told you, our experiences, even when we want to tell our stories, you have to be careful about it, because our experiences should not wound other people's character. Who people used to be is not who they are today.
Right.
And we have to be people that are more conscious of that, because I may have forgiven them and I'm healed, but people are just getting the brunt of their story now, and we don't want to expose people in a way where it's brutal,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm happy that it happened, and our relationship is amazing now. She cooks for me, which I love. Thanks, Mom. And so yeah, it was great.
Okay, so you are on, well, it's a continuous cycle, right? We're talking about healing today and healing from all of those, like, well, you mentioned mother wounds. I'm sure there were other wounds.
Oh, yeah.
So help us to understand what you're healing from or what you have healed from.
Yeah, I think it was so much. At one point, I used to just call myself damaged because it was father wounds, it was mother wounds, it was emotional and mental battles mainly. It was kind of low self-esteem, a lack of confidence. I mean, which one? It was so much at different junctures in my life that I had to deal with, but mostly now it's more self-acceptance. This is who I am, you know. What I went through did not define me. All of the abuse, all of the pain, all of the narrative that I believed for years, the violence I was exposed to, the rows, the arguments, the turmoil within my home, within my family and my environments. It's accepting that they were defining moments for me, but it also speaks to the resilience and the grace on my life, because I did not yield to it. I did not bend to it. I would have told you a few days ago that I took a test at Taylor University based on trauma response. And I scored out of 10, I got a 9. And the outcome was I should have been a statistic where I should have been medicated on alcoholism or having a bunch of kids or on drugs or at some point, you know, but it's because of grace, and it is because that I made a decision that what happened to me does not have to be who I am.
Right.
You know, I am not my wound, and I have learned to grow from that.
So we're going to take a quick break and hear more about your growth and your transformation. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this commercial break. Welcome back to our conversation with Katherine Coakley. Katherine, I know that you talked earlier about the wounds that you would have overcome and just your healing process.
Yeah.
What I would like for you to do is help our viewers to understand what that looks like through a child's eyes, as far as enduring all of those things as a child, being exposed to just toxic situations, arguments, and just being around adults.
Yeah, if I'm honest, as a child, I didn't have a consciousness of the effects those experiences had on me. As I really grew in my identity and my purpose, it kind of gave me lenses for myself. So, you know, self-awareness basically, right? So I would have found myself now experiencing certain things within my mind, emotional state, and I'm like, what's going on? Until I really began to dive deeper in my faith and I allowed the Holy Spirit in. Because that's how it really began for me. My whole journey of healing wasn't just a 3-step program, a coaching program. It was saying, okay, I'm a mess and I need some help. And he gave me lenses for myself through his eyes, through eyes of compassion, through eyes of empathy. As I was able to see that, okay, Katherine, these things actually affected you. So as a child, I didn't know. But as an adult, 25, 26, 27, you begin to look and you be like, okay, this is not natural. That ultra independence you have, that I'll do it, I'll protect everyone. It's not okay. And so I would tell parents, you know, one of the things I would say is to take time to know yourself, to learn yourself. I think we sometimes rush because of culture, because of all kind of different variables, to start families and children when we don't take the time to really get to know ourselves, our own journey, and own our journeys ourselves. Because it does affect, you know, a bad marriage does not affect a child. Bad people affect children. Right. You know, because we have people who aren't married, but they're doing just as much damage. And so it's not about a union. It's really about just being good people. How your lack of of self-awareness or healing or inner wellness can really take a toll on a child's mental, emotional, and physical outlook as to the world. And so that's something I would definitely encourage women, men, children, wherever you are, to use the time to heal. Every one of us have blind spots, and every one of us honestly is recovering from something. We may not be fully aware of that recovery, but our actions and our behaviors are telling. So if you're a woman listening to this, if you're a man listening to this, or just some big sister or big brother, take time to know yourself, because the behaviors that the children have to witness does affect them. It can make them angry. It can make them question their own identity, their own value, their own self, their own journey. Because parents, leaders, guardians are the templates. Before we know ourselves, we are what you tell us. For a long time, until the world exposes us to different things, until people begin to tell us who we are, or until we find ourselves through pursuing ourselves. And so I would always say to take the time to know yourself, to be intentional about providing a safe place for your children. And that safe place often comes from your inner temperature. If within yourself you are safe for your own self, you're going to find that you're going to create a haven for children.
Interesting. You said a lot of interesting things there. What's sticking out in my mind is, one, you admitted that you were a mess. You were able to do that. And then also you talked about how, as adults, what we're doing, when we expose children to just the arguments that we may be having with another adult, how that affects their self-esteem. I will tell you that adults don't get that. I think that we think that once we love our children, once we are giving them love, they'll be okay. So I really want you to help adults to understand how they could be affecting the self-esteem of their little ones.
I think even, Erlene, it's even more deeper than just an argument. It's how you live your life affects children. Like I said, you don't have to be in a relationship to affect a child. Parents are the greatest influencers. I know social media has a whole different spiel, but it's not true. The greatest influencer are your parents. Women bring about generations through their wombs, okay? And so before we understand anything about the world, we see our mom. That's why as a child, we're doing her makeup, we're putting on our shoes, we're trying to walk in her shoes, we're trying to be like her. And a lot of us aren't aware of this simply because of culture. We just get angry. We're not emotionally intelligent. We don't have self-control. Why? Because we're not self-aware. We're not aware that actions have certain consequences. Actions create behaviors. Actions create environments. And so a lot of people don't really lean into that. But I always say, and I come back down to it, parents may not be aware, and I can't speak just to parents, but I will say self-awareness is key. Learning yourself is key. Being honest with yourself and your motives and what you have your weak in, you're strong in, is important. There was an incident that happened to me a few weeks ago, and someone walked to me and they're like, "You're not talking." I said, "Because I don't communicate well when I'm angry." And he looked at me like, "What?" I said, "Yeah. And why should I communicate when I know I'm not going to say the right things? I'm going to be aggressive and not assertive, and my power as a woman is being assertive, not aggressive. That's not who I am. And if I can control that moment by being emotionally intelligent, I'm not going to do that. Because when we get angry, we begin to project our emotions on other people, and this is how the children and the people in the room are affected. Because we don't know how to channel what we feel. And I have been so big on being a woman with emotions and not a woman that is emotional.
So someone who is struggling, people out there who are having situations where, because they're not self-aware, and all of us could be a mess. What would you tell them? Like, what is the first step to even get to that point? And when I'm able to admit that I am a mess, what is my next step? And I'm asking you this directly because you have the Authentic Woman. And this is what you do. You coach women, and you help them to go on this self-awareness journey and actually get deliverance from some of the wounds that they have endured from other people, and sometimes that they put on themselves as well. So you are the perfect person to give advice on this.
Well, the Authentic Woman Academy is a faith-based program, right? And so I always use biblical principles in a practical way. I'm similar to how a lot of people do it. I always say you don't get to know yourself from creation. You get to know yourself from your creator. And we are in a society where a lot of women are looking for themselves on social media, in relationships, in opportunities, in jobs. But you cannot learn yourself or the intent for why you are here if you have not spent enough time with your creator to ask him, okay, who really am I? You know, we've become a generation that is aware of ourselves today, but it's not our authentic self. In order for you to find your authentic self, you have to spend time in his presence. Ask questions. Ask the people that you trust questions. Something I do every year is I ask my friends, was I a good friend this year?
Wow.
Like, you know, one of my friends like, no, I have my love language is quality time, and you don't like to drive to me. I'm not a quality time person. I'm an acts of service girl, right?
Acts of service.
And she was like, I said, okay, so now I got to be extra, you know, I'm more attentive to that. One of the things I say, like, you know, what are some strengths do I have? What are some weaknesses do I have? You know, relationships is currency. There's 3 forms of currency: time, relationships, and money, of course, right? And you have to be around people that you can trust to give you the right counsel, the wisdom, and are aware enough of themselves and for you to ask questions relating to you. And so ask your friends questions, ask the people around you questions, but don't look for them to tell you the fullness of who you are. Be intentional about asking the Holy Spirit. Be intentional, I'm sorry about to take us to church, but be intentional about praying and asking, you know, who am I? That's something I did for a long time. And then I took time to focus on myself. What do you like, Katherine? What do you enjoy? What makes you angry? What irritates you? What, you know, something I say in a coaching session about purpose. Purpose is connected to your burden, not your passion.
Amen.
What burdens your heart? When I see a homeless person on the side of the street, I'm angry. I'm in pain, you know? So pay attention to the things that bring you pain. Pay attention to the things that keep you up at night, you know, and be intentional about dating yourself and knowing yourself. That's very important. So if you put those 3 things together, prayer, your faith journey, your relationships, and you just putting in the work and being intentional about knowing yourself, you're going to find that you're going to be a path to discovery.
Awesome stuff. I'm just sitting here in awe. Thank you for your time with us. Stay tuned to more Journey TV.
All of our guests have released exclusive life stories on Footprints blog. Log on to www.footprintsjourney.net to learn more and to continue to follow their journeys of survival, resiliency, and strength. Follow at Footprints on Facebook and on Instagram at Footprints Journey. Contact us at joinus@footprintsjourney.net if you have an inspirational life story to share.
We want you to journey with us.
It's time for Journey TV's Community Highlight, where we feature nonprofits that are giving back to our community in big ways. These local heroes are positively impacting and changing our nation by their give back. Our goal is to bring more awareness and support to their organizations to assist with their continual service to our Bahamas. Here is this week's feature.
My name is Siobhan Strong. I currently work with BTC as a technical associate. I'm also the CEO and founder of We Life Foundation. I consider myself to be a pretty bubbly person, a little bit shy at times, but definitely one who has a very generous heart. We Life is an acronym for We Live in Freedom Everlasting. And so the goal is to bring mental, spiritual, and physical transformations to persons living in inner city environments. And we do this by providing meal assistance, educational and lifestyle seminars, as well as sponsored giveaways. So through these initiatives, we target the mind, body, and spirit in hopes that we can bring a total change to those individuals living in these communities. We've been to different family islands as well, Freeport, Exuma, Eleuthera, and then a few places here in Nassau. We've touched more than 2,000 families, raised over $30,000 to assist inner city youths, and this is something that we're looking to get more persons on board and continuing to spread the love of just giving and being our brother's keeper. So honestly, initially I was at work, minding my business, and I feel like I literally heard the voice of God said, you need to start a nonprofit organization. And So I just did my first event by doing a back to school giveaway, and I was like, that's it, I'm out. But then that feeling kept getting stronger, like this is something that you need to continue doing. And the more I got into it, I realized how my personal life actually tied into what I was doing, because I also grew up with a single parent mom in the inner city environments. And so I struggled a lot trying to develop myself as a young lady, as well as finding assistance, whether that be for meal or back to school initiatives. It's very important because, for example, like I said, growing up in the inner city environment myself with 4 other siblings, with one parent, it's a lot of strain on that individual because a lot of parents, they have to go out and work, and so most times the kids are pretty much left to grow up themselves. And so as you grow into yourself, you begin to struggle with how you should dress as a young lady or a young man, or how you should carry yourself, or just how to navigate through life. So organizations like myself, is important to, one, keep inner city youths off of the streets from getting into other problems, to assist them in doing well with school, and just to know that there are people there who care and who's willing to assist in helping you understand life, because at 30 years old, we're still figuring it out. So it's good to have someone that can actually guide you along the way to avoid certain mistakes that we have made growing up. Because our events vary throughout the year, it depends on the time of the year. So usually we would start with a grocery giveaway. So that would always require non-perishable grocery items, monetary donations. We do a Christmas giveaway, so that would usually require toys, candies, food, monetary donations again, as well as we do a back to school giveaway. So this year, with virtual learning now coming into play, we actually just donated over 30 laptops and tablets to kids from Stephen Dillard Primary as well as AF Arley. So that's an initiative that we want to continue, is assisting kids with online learning. And so you can, if you have any used or new devices, you can donate them or just give a monetary donation as well. So We Life is on social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram at We Life Foundation. You can also visit our website, www.welifefoundation.org, or you can send us an email at welifefoundation@gmail.com.
All of us carry wounds. Some of us admit to having them and work at releasing them, and others just learn to live with them. One thing we can all agree with is that it takes courage to face these past wounds. Not facing them, however, only means that we will continue to carry them. And at some point, these wounds will show up and they will affect our relationships and even affect the way we handle ourselves. As our guest Katherine mentioned earlier, our Heavenly Father is the one who can heal these wounds. He is the one who can soften our hearts and help us to forgive those that have hurt us intentionally or unintentionally. Our Heavenly Father will comfort those past wounds. His joy and peace can bring a calm like no other. This is achieved by spending more time with Him, talking to Him, and building a relationship with Him the same way you spend time with your friends. The more you draw closer to Him, the closer He draws to you. Through this relationship, He will open your eyes and your heart and help you to give grace to yourself with extending that same grace to others. This process won't be easy, but He will give you the courage, the calm, and the support needed to get through facing these past wounds. And once you face them, strongholds will be broken and generational blessings will pour down. God can and will do that once you surrender it all to Him. Ask Him to help you face your fears. Tell Him you want His freedom from these wounds, and your children and children's children will benefit from your courage and sacrifice. Katherine serves as an excellent example for this, along with her mother, as both parties searched internally and did what was necessary to let go of the past. This kind of forgiveness can only be achieved by submitting our hearts to God and letting Him take over, as our flesh will keep us angry and block us from extending grace the same way that He gives us grace over and over. Let's continue to extend grace to ourselves and to the people around us. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, give hope, light, and love to the people around you, but most importantly, don't forget to give it to yourself. Join us next time for more Journey TV.